TPCSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all your sports books and track all your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You could also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as it's the best account on the platform. Head to App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire and download the app.
Hey, welcome to my show. My name is Scott Webb, and a lot of people know me as Beam 'em Up Scotty. And here to talk to you tonight a little bit about Major League Baseball and tonight's slate of games. I kind of wanted to touch base with a couple of different things before we get into the games, because as Jeff and I always talk, I think some of the stuff we talk about that doesn't make the air should. And this is one of those things. You know, we talked the other day, and it's June 14th, and a lot of people that bet baseball at this point in time have given up. A lot of people have said, "Hey, you know, this is the time for me to get out of baseball." But one of the things I want to make sure that you know is baseball is not even half over yet. There's 160 games in Major League Baseball, and they haven't played 80. They're in the 60s, and there's still tons of baseball to go. And it's important to understand how to play and what to do. So that's what I'm here to do, is try to help you get through that and try to navigate some of that, because I think this is good pickings. And one of the things that's hey, Daniel Barry Sports, one of the things I think is important here is to recognize about baseball is certain days of the week are important more so than others. And Fridays are a great day. And I'll tell you why. It's because you get new matchups today. So the teams traveled on Thursday or Wednesday, and they got to their new cities. They're playing a 3-game series Friday, Saturday, Sunday against a new team. And Friday's the first day of that matchup. And the importance of that is because the sports books, by the time Sunday comes, they get their lines better. So Friday is a day where you want to attack the sports books and you want to bet baseball. Mondays are good days for that too, because Sunday they travel and they go to a new city, and then Monday you get a new slate of games and a new matchups. So I'm always excited about Friday and Monday. If you can't tell sort of by my voice in a little bit today, you know, it's a fun day to be here on a Friday and talk baseball, because you want to attack the numbers on Fridays. You want to attack the numbers on Mondays. Vice versa of that is, as it gets to the end of those series on Wednesdays or Thursdays, depending on if there's a 3-game series or 4-game series that started on Monday and or on Sunday, you got to be a little bit more careful, because two things happen. One, the sports books get better at what their numbers are. And then number two, the managers decide, hey, you know, I'm going to rest this starter because, you know, I get an extra travel day. If I rest him today, he's off on Thursday, and then he doesn't get to, you know, he gets 2 days off, and I only missed him for 1 day in the lineup. So you got to watch a little bit of that. And then the last kind of note before I get into these games today that I wanted to say is that unlike football or basketball or some of these other sports that you bet, baseball is a game where you might want to wait as long as you can before you make your wager. And I say that because, you know, if your pitcher wakes up and he's got a stiff neck and he's not going to pitch today, and you already went out there and did all your handicapping work, and, you know, it's 11 o'clock in the morning and you make your bet, and then your pitcher decides, okay, you know, he can't pitch that day, and they bring up some guy from AAA to take his spot. You know, it is what it is. Or you know, you just the manager decides, you know, Bryce Harper's not playing today, and he's a key cog of why you wanted to bet that game. You want to you want to kind of look at that and make a decision on whether or not you really want to bet that early. Baseball is a sport where you don't have to worry too much about what the line does. You're not having to cover runs or having to cover point spreads that move different directions. It's you want the best line you can get, but I would tell you get the best line you can at the time you want to bet. That's the more important thing, is the timing of when you want to bet, not necessarily what the number is. Most of us in this field that are successful bettors at baseball. You're not going to hear them or hear me or hear Jeff or a lot of the guys that do well at baseball betting. You're not going to hear us go talking about CLV on baseball, because we don't. You want the best number you can get, and you want it at the right time in which you want to make your bet. Once you have secured knowledge that your pitcher is going to pitch and your lineup is what you thought it was going to be, so that you're not in any way, shape, or form out there getting blindsided by stuff that happens in Major League Baseball, especially in June, July, and August, because they call them the dog days of summer, and they certainly are that. And when you have 160 games that you play in a season, it doesn't hurt for some of these guys to take a break here and there. I mean, Aaron Judge was off the other night. The other thing I would tell you is these guys that take a break, they are good the next day they come back. I think Aaron Judge, when he came back, hit 2 home runs the next day. So, pay attention to who's not in the lineup and who was given a break, because that team they play for is probably going to get the best person, best player, best productivity out of that guy that was given a break. So that all being said, we'll look at tonight's slate of games here. And one of the things that I wanted to do, because I don't know exactly where everybody wants to go with games and so forth. I like to pick high profile games for these shows, because I think a lot of people like to bet on those. So one of the things that I looked at today in terms of trying to do this was the Yankee game, because I think a lot of people, Yankees, Red Sox, right? I mean, it's a big game. It's a big series. One of the things that you have here is Luis Gil is pitching for the Yankees against Brian Bello for the Red Sox. I think there's some weather issues and weather concerns in this game. I'm pretty certain they might play, but I know that there's been some wet weather there. But that being said, the game opened, the overnight line was minus 160, which I thought was pretty high. And just so you know how this works, the night before, so today's Friday, so Thursday night they opened the number at minus 160. And then a few people get the opportunity to bet into that number. If you have some offshores and some other places, you can get into these numbers. And then they sort of close these numbers down and then reopen them at a different number in the morning. Right now, the number in that game is looks like Circa has it minus 139. Bookmaker has it minus 145. 143 at South Point. So somewhere in the neighborhood around 140. 145-ish for the Yankees. And there's a couple of key notes here that you need to know in this game specifically. The first one is Luis Gil is he has made, I think it's 12 starts now. Let me go back over here. No, he's made Luis Gil, there he is. He's made 13 starts for the Yankees. In those 13 starts, the Yankees have won 11 of those games. So they're 11-2. And that it's important to understand that as a pitcher goes, you really don't care what his personal won-lost record is, because it could be 5-0, and he could have started 10 games and they'd be 5-5 in those 10 games. So you're betting on a pitcher, but you're really betting on the team. You're betting on the team to win, not the pitcher. So nobody cares what the pitcher's won-lost record is. You want to know what the team's record is in won-lost when that pitcher starts. So even if even if he doesn't get credit for a win, for example, and he gets taken out in the 6th inning or the 7th inning, but he's put that team in a position to win. Those are important facts to kind of understand about Major League Baseball and betting these games, is know kind of who is pitching to the point in which they're winning games, as opposed to some that aren't. Like there's a kid that pitches for Detroit, Reese Olson, who pitches really good almost every time he goes out. But their team, when he pitches, they're 2-9. So when you support Reese Olson because you see all these data and statistics and all this great stuff about how he pitches, you got to understand he's not winning games. And you're going to lose a lot of bets that way. And you go, well, how do I lose bets on a good pitcher? Well, that's how. You got to make sure that you understand that there's a big difference in pitchers that win games for their teams and keep their team in the game versus pitchers that just have good stats. And we don't want to bet good stats. We want to bet pitchers that win. So Luis Gil's 11-2. It's really good. Brian Bellows pitched 11 times. He's 7-4, so that's not bad. Those are both good numbers in terms of pitchers to support. Where the differentiation here comes in is SOPS plus. So OPS plus is on base percentage plus slugging. That's all it is. And S is a predicted number. So it kind of gives you, okay, well, this is how well a pitcher controls the offense. And what's really good about this number is that's graded on a 100 scale. So if it was 100, you're even. If it was 110, then you can say, well, this pitcher's 10% better than an average pitcher. If it was 90, well, that pitcher's 10% better than an average pitcher. So it's kind of how it works, where you can look at this number and go, man, this is kind of easy. I can get this number down pretty quick. So Luis Gil over the last 28 days has an SOPS plus of 24. 24. That's 76% better than an average pitcher. 76. That means he's controlling the outs, controlling the on-base percentage, controlling the slugging percentage of the opponent. And when you look at what Brian Bellows at 141. So that means he's 41% worse than average against the Yankees of all teams. So I think you have a real big edge on the mound here for Luis Gil, and probably bigger than what the line is. So when you start to think about kind of where you're going and what you're looking at, I think the first thing you want to understand here is, what is the dominance of one pitcher to the next? And you don't want to look at it over the course of a full season, because who really cares what they did at the beginning of April or end of March? We want to know what they've done in the last 5 or 6 starts, which is the last 28 days. And that's why you look at it from that perspective. So that was one of the things that I saw that was a major differentiation in this game. The other one is, I'm going to go to a number, WPA, talked about it the last time on the show. It's winning percentage added, right? So it is, again, then they put it in a column. These are all the things that he did well. He got a good pitch here. He got a strike there. He got an out here. Everything that was done good goes in WPA plus, right? Win percentage plus. He's adding winning percentage because of all the good things he did. Then you take away all the negative things. All the winning percentage minus stuff goes in another column. And then at the end, you go, oh, well, let's subtract the two and see where he comes out. Well, in this particular case, Luis Gil has a 1.16 positive WPA. And that means that he's in the top 25, probably the top 10% of Major League Baseball over the last 30 days. That means he's not making mistakes. That means he's throwing the ball where it needs to go. He's getting the outs he needs to get. Then the opponents aren't getting very good hits off of him. And Brian Bellow is a minus 0.82, which is in the worst 25% of all of baseball, which means he's making a lot of mistakes. And I kind of like it to generate it this way. When you watch the games, I don't know, there's a lot of people now that watch them on their phone and they look at where the pitches are and they see that little box, that where the pitch comes in. And I'm telling you, when the ball is not on the line, on the border of the border of the strike zone, those are mistakes, because that's where they need to throw it, or these hitters are going to hit it. And it appears as though Brian Bello is throwing a lot of pitches that are not on the borders. They're in the middle of the plate. And that's mistakes, and mistakes get hit. So that tends for me to say, hey, look, we got a pretty big significant advantage for the Yankees tonight on the mound. And I know that the line opened at 160 and the line's down to 140. My number on this game was 140 in this particular matchup. And I don't think there's value there. But I think that the reality becomes into, who do you bet on? Well, you bet on the team that's going to win. So I try to teach people a lot of times too, when you think about it, baseball is about betting value. So where do you get the best value? If my number says the Yankees should be minus 140 and the number is 140, well, you're not getting much value there. But the reality becomes is, well, the Yankees going to win. And based on what I'm seeing from, the pitching, I think that you've got a good shot there. Now, I would transition this a different way and say the better solution, because the Yankees offense is good, but the Yankees offense currently isn't what they were just last week. Last week, they were number 1, number 2 in baseball. Currently, the Yankees offense is ranked 13th in baseball. Aaron Judge is hitting. Soto is hitting, but the rest of them have kind of fallen off a little bit. The Red Sox, coming off the series with the Phillies and doing some different things that the Red Sox are doing. The Red Sox offense is actually a little better right now. The Red Sox have an offense that's graded as 10th. Well, it's not big enough differentiation there to sit there and go, well, the Red Sox offense is better than the Yankees offense right now. But you can say they're even. And then in the bullpens, they're pretty even too. So if you got an even back into the game and an even offense, and the only edge you really have is a starting pitcher, that turns this game into a first 5. You really want to look at the Yankees on the first 5, take the Yankees in the first 5, and I think the better way to take a look at that is to not allow two things to happen. You don't want the starting pitcher to get removed, and then the better offense, which in this case is Boston, to take anything and capitalize on the Yankees bullpen. And then number 2, you don't want to have the Yankees, if you're a Yankees fan in this game, you don't want to have the Yankees be in a spot where they have to come back against the Boston bullpen. So you really want this game to be the edge, right? Where's your edge? And in this game, the edge is at the starting pitcher, Luis Gil, and what he's been able to do in controlling the opponent's offenses, and then his ability to not make mistakes, I think puts him in a spot where you want to bet Yankees first 5. So that would be I don't want to call it a flip of a coin game, but I think that it's worthwhile to play, or I wouldn't have even mentioned it. But it's a big game. It's a big series. People like to talk about those kind of series and where we're going with those. The next game that I wanted to talk to you about tonight was San Diego is traveling back across the state all the way to New York tonight, and they're facing the Mets. So there's a couple different things here. Number one, this is one of those I'm going to tell you that I think you have a little bit of value, because my number in this game is San Diego minus 113. And I know that this game opened at, more pick 'em minus 110, minus 105, 105. But if you look at what the line is currently, the current number in the game is the New York Mets Well, they're minus 113, minus 114, minus 115, depending on where you're at the book. So people have decided, okay, well, I want to play the home team tonight. They want to play the Mets. The Mets are having Manaea on the mound. Okay, so this is a different game altogether. And the reason I tell you that is because, number one, the biggest differentiator here is the San Diego Padres are the number one offense in baseball currently in the last 7 days. They are number one in the ISO column. Now, ISO column means isolated power. Isolated power just means total bases per at-bat. So they're getting doubles, they're getting triples, they're getting home runs. Tatis Jr. is leading the way for them, and that's a good guy to have pulling the ropes for San Diego. You want your big horses to carry your team, and if your big horse is Tatis Jr. and he's doing it, I think he's got like a 16-game hitting streak, something like that. So those are great things for San Diego. San Diego on weighted runs created plus is 173. That means they're 73% better than an average offense at creating runs. The Mets are 102, so that they're average. So you don't want, that's not a terrible thing to be average. But when you're facing the number one offense in baseball, you better be having a pitcher on the mound that can control that, right? So that's the next step, right? We've identified that the San Diego Padres can hit. They're scoring runs. The San Diego Padres currently are scoring 6.8 runs per game. That's a lot. And when you look at the pitching matchup, let's go to what Manaea right now is. We said SOPS plus was for Heel was 24. Remember, SOPS plus is your slugging plus on base percentage. And for Manaea, it's 146. That means he's 46% worse than an average pitcher in his last 28 days at controlling the offense in slugging and on base. So that means that the number one offense should be able to get on base, and they should be able to slug against Manaea. That puts Manaea in a bad spot. So then you kind of flip it and go, well, the pitcher for San Diego is Waldron, the knuckleball guy. How's he doing? Well, his number is currently Waldron is a 46. So again, here's another one of these pitchers that you might not have known about, but he is doing phenomenally well over the last 28 days at controlling the opponent's offense. He's 54% better than an average pitcher. So, yeah, and you have an average offense. So I think that bodes well for where San Diego sits tonight. So you have a pitcher that can control the opponent's offense, and you have a pitcher who's going against the number one offense that can get exploited. That's not very good. And then when you look at where the error rates are and kind of the mistake rates, well, Manaea is at a minus 55 WPA, 0.55. That puts him again in the bottom 25% of all of baseball. He's making mistakes and he's getting hit. His home run rate is 2.33 per 9 innings. Anything that's over 2 is terrible. And he's the highest one on the board today, higher than anybody, who was actually tied with Logan Allen from Cleveland. But the point being is that he's not real good there. And Waldron for San Diego, 0. Hasn't allowed a home run in the last 30 days. So the team in New York is going to have to really do a lot to score runs tonight. It means they got to get a lot of hits, string them together, and produce to score. Whereas the San Diego Padres have a bigger opportunity to hit doubles, triples, and home runs, where they can score a lot easier, don't have to work quite as hard, and get the value that they want. And you can get them at an underdog. So I like this play. I like this play a lot. I would tell you that San Diego tonight is a good play. And the last play that I wanted to talk to you about tonight is a big matchup between the Philadelphia Phillies and the Baltimore Orioles, when you got two really good pitchers matched up, right? You've got Ranger Suarez and Bradish is pitching tonight for the Baltimore Orioles. And what's kind of neat about this is Ranger Suarez has pitched 13 times. In those 13 times, the Philadelphia Phillies are 12-1. Well, lost once in his starts. And the Phillies are an underdog tonight. Oh, that puts me on them right away to go, hey, what's going on? Let me look at the Phillies side of this, right? Well, Bradish has pitched 7 times for the Orioles, and they've won 6 times in his starts. So I'm going to hit you with a new thing, and the new thing is going to be game score tonight. We're going to talk a little bit about game score in this game because I think game score is important. So Kyle Bradish, his last time out, his game score was at 81. I talked about this the last time a little bit. Your average game score is at 50. And game score is important because it talks about you get plus points for strikeouts, for innings pitched, for you get credit for not giving up very many runs. If you give up runs, they take points away. If you give up walks, they take points away. If you give up hits, they take points away. So it's another thing that kind of goes up and down. But it grades the quality of your performance, not in a one-loss style, but in a style that you can then go, well, you threw a game score this versus that guy threw a game score this or that guy. So you can actually compare how one pitcher pitched compared to the other one. But if you kind of stack them up, you kind of get an idea of what kind of caliber of a pitcher you have. And you don't have to look at the one-loss record to get it. So where is he? He is here. His game score average over the last 3 starts is a 63, and his over his last 7 starts is a 59. Any pitcher that hits closer to 60 is like an ace. Those guys throw very, very well. And they don't have a lot of bad games. They just can't. They don't have bad games very often. However, I will tell you this. Bradish is off of a game score 81. So I'm a big proponent of regression to the mean. If your average score is a 60, or in this case it's a 59, and you threw an 81 the last time, then you're a 63 for your last 3, you're above what your pitching performance is for the season. So ideally, then, there's going to be an offset that comes in there. That offset is going to lower your number so that then you can get back to the average. You can get to the mean that you're supposed to be at. And then that's where we find Mr. Bradish today. That 81 is a big number. Great for you. You pitched really good. Hopefully some people were on him when he threw that 81, because you shouldn't expect him to be an 81 tonight. You should expect him to be less than what his normal is. And in this case, his normal is a 59. So if he's less than a 59, that means he's less than his ace stuff. He's going to be either good or he's going to be average. So if he's average, if he's just an average pitcher tonight and he's facing the Philadelphia Phillies, I think that he can get beat. And I like the idea that the Philadelphia Phillies are in a spot where they just got off of getting beat by the Red Sox. They're going to want to come out here and kind of make a stand a little bit. 2 things are going on for the Phillies. Number 1, Schwarber's getting hot because it's June. And number 2, Harper is hot too. So you have 2 key cogs in the lineup that are driving their offense. And I think that they're both being left-handed is very helpful against a right-handed starting pitcher in Bradish. And then when you look at where you're at with Suarez's last start was a game score of 55. His last 7 starts is a game score of 59. And for the season, he's a game score 63. So he's been super, super good. And his last start was less than super good. So what does that mean? Well, that means that he's more likely to start throwing like he has been And instead of regress to the mean, he's going to progress to the mean. He's going to pitch better. So I think you have a reversal of fortune here where Ranger Suarez is in a position to pitch much better and Kyle Bradish is in a position to pitch worse. And then when you look at the offenses, both of these offenses are really good. The kind of difference, though, is when I looked at them, I thought it was kind of interesting. The Phillies offense is driven by two guys that have pretty good game scores and another guy that's pretty close to a 2 WAR. And they only have two guys that aren't really hitting, but they're not really bad off. And the Baltimore Orioles are not in that same spot. They're a little bit lower there. So I think through the lineup, the Phillies have a better offense 1 through 9 than, and I wouldn't normally say this because I love betting on Baltimore, but timing and circumstance is everything in baseball. It's all about regression to the mean or progression to the mean and the streaks. And my opinion in this particular game is you have Kyle Bradish, who's going to regress to his mean, and you have Ranger Suarez, who's going to progress to his mean. So you got a pitching edge for Philadelphia. And then offensively, you've got a spot where Philadelphia is a little bit better right now than where Baltimore is. And both bullpens have pitched very good. Actually, the number 1 bullpen in baseball over the last 14 days is the Philadelphia Phillies. And the number 2 is the Baltimore Orioles. I don't know how they got there, but that's the way it is. That's what the numbers show anyway. I think the Cleveland Guardians are the best bullpen in baseball, period. But that all kind of rotates around. But so I like the idea here that you take Philadelphia, you take them plus the 110, 115, 120, whatever you can get them at, and go from there. So my 3 plays that I wanted to give out today, again, I think you take New York Yankees in the first 5 innings. I'm not telling you to play them on the run line. I'm just telling you to play them on the money line. Then you take the San Diego Padres as a dog, or if it's, I don't know what the number hasn't moved. So if it's 113, you get them as a small dog, 115 plus 105, something like that. And I think you can get the Phillies in the same neighborhood. And I think you can do pretty well tonight. So I didn't get anybody asking any questions today. I didn't get anybody asking for special requests on game breakdowns. But one of the things that I used to do was somebody would come on the chat and they'd go, hey, you know what? I got a question about, the Texas Ranger game tonight against the Seattle Mariners. Can you break that game down? And what'll be interesting is I'll do it live. I'll break down the whole game, show you how I do it, kind of break it down. And if you had a question and I didn't answer it, then we can go from there. But that's it for today. These shows, going to be a half hour long, maybe 45 minutes, depending on who has questions, who doesn't, what's the status and where we go. But let's get some 3 winners to go. And remember what I said, baseball's only 60 games in right now, 65 games in. It's a 160 game season. There's 100 games to go. We're not even halfway there yet. We can get you some double digits units in your systems going. We can get you your counts going, build up. You can bet baseball all summer. Just follow along. Let's play the game. Let's have some fun. Enjoy the show. Talk to you later. Thanks.